Now I know for a fact that this clock has not worked for over 40 years. It was given to these guys by a friend. Now the friend was an American serviceman who bought it in a PX in Germany where these clocks were made. And we're talking the late 50s, early 60s here. You know, Elvis was still singing All Shook Up and the Vietnam War was a few years in the future. Now for 30 years or more, the clock went with Jill and Philip around the world as Philip rose to the rank of brigadier, and it only stopped working when it got back to England in the 1980s. And these torsion clocks with a little revolving pendulum, they're just so lovely that it's really high time that we got this one up and running again. Now my name is Richard and I'm a watchmaker, and today I am going to fix up and make beautiful again this lovely old anniversary clock. Look at that. So it's not working, unsurprisingly. It's in bits, and also for reasons which I will tell you later, it relies on this torsion spring at the back, which you can see is really twisted, so that is not going to work properly in a month of Sundays. I have to say it did amuse me that it turned up in a Fortnum & Mason's bag. Not quite sure why it's in so many pieces, but probably someone had a go at it and gave up. So that's quite often the way. The clock arrived with this piece of sellotape on it, mucky looking sellotape. I guess that was because somebody was trying to hold the pendulum up with it, not really knowing that that is what these guys in the Black Forest made this for, which is the pendulum holder. First thing that I need to do is let down the mainspring safely, and it's just a really good way to hold the clock while I do that. And the mainspring is really powerful, so especially on these, I mean, is that there's enough power in there for 400 days, and if you release 400 days worth of power in about a quarter of a second, it'll strip all the teeth off all the wheels in this clock, so we don't want to do that. So we're just gonna or I am just going to put the clock back on its stand with these screws. These were the ones that were in the little pot, and let's just pop that there for a second out of the way. This is the click here, and this of course is connected to the arbor of the mainspring, so we have to hold this under control whilst moving the click to release the ratchet. So trying a number 5 key, and that is just too tight, so moving on then. Always good to check that number 6 has number 7 next to it, otherwise you're probably not using number 6, you're using number 9, and that's a number 6, so that's good. So let's use that. And that is now loose, so that spring is unwound. So it's high time we took this out, really. I mean, we're going to replace the spring anyway, because the spring, as I mentioned earlier, is completely shot through. But if we just release this screw here, this should fall out. Be careful we don't drop the screw off the bench. Okay, so put a little bit of Rodico here just to make sure that we don't lose the screw as we take it out. Nice. And just gently taking off the torsion spring. So the stand is quite useful at the moment. I'm just going to keep the clock on the stand while I remove the hands, and the hands are very grubby, and although you can tell the time in this light, when the light drops, they're not shiny enough to reliably be able to tell the time, so we're going to have to clean those up a little, but let's get them off to start with. So just coming in with a pair of hand removers, just taking the top hand off in this instance, and then doing the second, the hour hand, with some levers. Just put that gently on the bench, and the dial is held in with 3 pins. Just gently lift off the dial. Okay, so this little C-clip is quite tight, and you risk scratching the front plate, so let's put a bit of plastic or bubble wrap over it and give it a bit of a pull. There she goes. And that also helps you not lose it. Let's pop it on the bench. Off with the cannon pinion and the minute wheel. So I had to sharpen up a nice big screwdriver to get down in the holes of these big screws. Otherwise, if you use the wrong tool, you risk sort of damaging the screw head. So it's worth taking a little bit of time to make sure you've got the right size tool to go in here, and once they're loosened up you can use something a bit smaller. And lifting off the plate to reveal the movement. Now it's never a good sign when one of them sticks to the plate. It normally means the lubricant has dried up and seized the pivot. So just take these components out now. The nice thing about having a video is it's easier to know where they all go back. And there is the entire movement. Oh, this is nice. This is one of the watches I make. It's called a Seawolf, and it's under my own brand Major, which was my rank when I left the British Army. Now, it doesn't just look nice. Inside is a Swiss ETA 2824. So check out the link in the description. Okay, so we've got our mainspring barrel, we've got our gloves, nice rainforest gloves, we've got our eye protection, very, very important eye protection, and we've got our cosh here, which is nicely weighted, just to give that a little tap on the top there. So that's what we're going to do now. Here we go. And that is, I think, yeah. There we go. Voila. So it's important to make sure that the tailstock on this spring winder tool is properly secured. These springs are really, really powerful, and you don't want it slipping while you're tightening or loosening it. So first thing we're going to do is wind the spring up so that there's gap between the spring and the barrel wall. That will enable us to slip this sleeve on like this. And then I'm just going to hold that in with my thumb, make sure that's pressed against the back of the barrel whilst I unwind the spring into the sleeve. Loosen off the tailstock. Just pull that back gently now. and all that power of that spring is now actually pressing not against the barrel wall but against the sleeve. So we just need to rotate it and pull it, and we can pop it out. There it is. Now we're really just going to repeat the process to get it out of the sleeve. So you have to lock it down with that pin. So the pin that comes from the bed of the tool needs to be into the eye of the spring, and then again just tighten it up, slip off the sleeve, and then flick the ratchet across and release the tension. And that's it. Release the tailstock again, pull it out, and there is one spring. It actually looks really good. It's been in there for what, 60, 70 years, so you know it could maybe do with replacing, but there's still a hell of a lot of power in it. So it's called a 400-day clock or an anniversary clock because it runs for 400 days on a single wind, and this special torsion pendulum is the reason that it can do that. So this mechanism actually works the same way as a free sprung balance in a Rolex, essentially by turning the disc at the top that sends down this arm along this groove, which has the effect of either widening the circle of the pendulum weights or decreasing it. So you know that's at their fullest extent, and then turn it the other way and it'll tuck them right in and it'll go faster. And just check out how minty fresh and clean these parts are when they've come out of the ultrasonic cleaner. I have a 3-stage cleaning process, and if you want to see the detail on that, just go to the link in the description, which will take you to my website, and that'll tell you exactly how long and what solutions I use. Now let me take you around this clock now that it's come out of the ultrasonic cleaner, and just before I give some of the parts a little bit extra with some of this brasso, as you can see these have come out really clean. A lot of people never see a clock in this condition, a mechanical clock, because most of them are so old they're caked in oil, but it's a joy to see a clock in this condition. So let's give some of these parts a little bit extra with this nice pot of brasso. And That's the ice cream man. And it's only just finished raining here in Pembroke Dock, but the ice cream man has decided to come down to the workshop. Nice. Now putting the spring back is just the reverse of taking it out, so didn't film that. Just going to pop the top back on now, nice and clean, and there we are. And that, I think, is a pretty good picture of how the powertrain works in this clock. You've got one extra wheel than you would normally have in something like a pocket watch, and that's to make sure that the torque this end here, he said, putting a little bit of grease on the escape wheel. Less than ideal, have to clean that off now. And yeah, so high torque, less torque as it comes through the powertrain to the escapement here, and here is the here are the pallets for the escapement. So I'm going to put the top plate on now, get all these pivots lined up, and we are getting close. Okay, so now for the moment of truth. Put some power on this. Only a few turns on this and you've got a month's worth of power. Okay.